See how life is. Those of them who called Nnamdi Kanu names. He's talking too much, he's a criminal, he's a terrorist, he's this and that. They are now still beginning to say the same thing Nnamdi Kanu has been saying. Nigeria cannot work. Nigeria can never work with the way it is right now. So even Fulani Northerners are calling for regional government. They says they don't want to continue with this kind of constitution that have tied Nigeria down today. When Nnamdi Kanu was talking, they say make him not talk, he mad they smell. They say crucify him, do this, do that. The same them today are still saying what this man have said. Anyway, guys, make I drop this video. Make all of us see how things they work out for Nigeria. But before then, guys, this is Prospect Channels TV. If you are joining us for the first time, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. I bet share this video, make it go viral. Make everybody for this country they see wetin dey happen.
We cannot have a country where center becomes so strong as it is today in the context case study of Nigeria as it is today. You have a center where one man single-handedly decide the fate of the entire country in the name of a president. Today, from what we have, the most strongest president in the world today is Nigerian president. He sit down, he decide he wants, whatever he wants comes to be. Even when we align ourselves with America, believing that we learn or borrow from the democracy we are practicing today by claim, in quotes, that we borrow from America. And the Americans don't run their government the way it is today. So with this over-centralization of government, with this situation where today we find ourselves, only recently we begin to breathe, and I commend the government of Tinubu, Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who come up with this issue that they had to go to Supreme Court to get ruling of this local government autonomy, and today we are getting to feel that something is beginning to happen. Gradually, I have always been part of those who believe the local government autonomy should be in place. This issue of total decentralization of the central government itself must be where, yes, you have a president, but at least let us see a situation where we can reduce the over concentration of power at the center. Let regional have power, or make it states, if you like. Let them have their own power, their autonomy, so that at the end of the day they can be viable. Either the region become viable or the state become viable, so that those lazy governors we have today will no longer be lazy, because every state today is in Nigeria have one thing or the other to tap and generate resources. So we cannot over depend on the center that does not have enough today, depend on allocations and so on and so forth. I have always seen that coming, and we are getting to that level as it is today. The center cannot hold, because if you look at the realities of things on normal circumstances, why should Nigerian, despite all the huge resources we have, solid mineral and so on and so forth, we are still looking for loans, because the center cannot hold any longer. So I'm happy we are beginning to realize truly we need to slack this over concentration of powers at the center. Let the decentralize the central government, so that at the end of the day we can have this security issue that we have today, that will over concentrate on federal police, will no longer be there. And I thank God, only a few days ago I could see that the governors have made a strike move to say yes, we have all agreed unanimously that there's need to have state policing. We are gradually getting there. Then in terms of course, the security issue is very important, because you do not expect to carry a man from Karana Moda and bring him to Oshobo, and you expect him to perform magic as a DPO in a particular area where probably all his life he has not been to Yoruba land, and you just bring him to a place and become a DPO, and you expect him to give a result in terms of security. It's not done. And even to an extent, even in terms of our elections, those who emerge becomes our leader. For those who will emerge our leader, if you have a system that allow the autonomy of the region to operate properly, some of these armed robbers we have today, some of these crooks we have today that in quotes go to Abuja to represent us as senators or whatever, if we have an autonomy that is very viable and strong, where people fate will be decided within their communities. Some of this character do not have business to go to Abuja to represent them, because the system at that time, naturally, it will begin to fish out people based on their antecedents. We should be able to know the good ones among the bad ones. But today you have a system that encourages corruption, that somebody will go to Abuja under the guise of one godfather or the other becomes your governor. You have a system that encourages somebody who does not even know a particular terrain in the name of constituency, and today he represents you in Abuja, who does not even come home, because this is what this system encourages. So I am of the view that we must change the system, decentralize the central government, make the region or the state become viable, so that we can begin to groom good leaders who will represent us in any capacity, so that security-wise people can work in confidence, because those within communities know who are the members of their community, know the good and the bad ones. So if a crime is being committed, it will be easy for them to detect who commit the crime. But under this arrangement where you have big something called central government, and the IG will have to speak before a commissioner of police can act, when you call a governor, a chief security officer or chief security officer of the state, under this arrangement, and the CP is not accountable to the governor, then it does not work. The politicians have done more harm than good to the society as it is today. It takes men of goodwill to come together. Yes, indeed, it is possible for us to go back and become one. It is possible if all hands will be on decks. But to do that, we must also put at the back of our mind that there is need for justice, equity, and fairness for all. You cannot treat any side of this country as second-class citizen. You expect peace to reign. Where there are passive, certain injustice, people are bound to resist. People are bound to agitate. And this is where we find ourselves today. When I refresh my mind and I look at the situation as it is today, considering how it came up and what Nigeria was then and what it is today, I get scared. And to some extent, some of us who have been on the trenches as product of struggle, this is not what we expected. And I'm sure even our founding fathers today, wherever they are, this is not the kind of Nigeria they all dreamt of. But very unfortunate today, we find ourselves in a very tight situation where there is a serious division within the various ethnic nationalities. There's also this serious threats as regards to our religions, the two faiths of Muslim and Christianity in this country. And if measures are not taken, if men of goodwill don't speak out, we are likely going to find ourselves in a serious quagmire, God forbid. So I think it's high time we begin to rechannel the mindset of the next generation and even this present generation to ensure that this country remains together, because the unity of this country has been threatened for over time. So I get worried, and it's very scary. Don't forget, vividly, almost close to 2 decades, we had a situation where there are serious problems across the nation. Specifically, let me make mention of the dichotomy between the South and the North. And specifically, after the fallout of June 12th election, that's the annulment of the election, there comes some problems where the Southwest at the beginning felt that the North actually ganged up against the Abiola election. And some of us have to make it very clear, join the struggle at that time to demand for justice for Abiola, and we were all part and parcel until later. Now it becomes very glaring that it wasn't what some of them were thinking, because if you remember vividly, the Abiola election, they not voted for him massively. But people didn't get to understand that until later. So we did everything to ensure that there is that understanding. As to me specifically, I vividly recall my relationship with somebody like Gani Adams at that time. I could remember vividly also with Dr. Frederick Fashion that we work very closely to sensitize our people, to make them realize that we are just one in all of this. What affects the North directly affect the South indirectly, and what affects the South indirectly affect the North directly. And to that extent, we're able to build a synergy, and that's the relationship I've had for over time. Likes of Gani Adam, who today, by the grace of God, is a very serious traditional ruler in the Southwest, is a rare Ona Kakanfo of Yoruba land, who is very good confidant, a very good friend to me for over 2-decade relationships, and I also extend hand of that same fellowship to Niger Delta, where I also found a friend and a brother indeed, Asari Dokubo, whom we all came up together and received a lot of mentorship in the struggle. Today, by the grace of God, I still maintain that good relationship with them, and that's some of the effort that those stories of some of those things that happened in the past doesn't happen again. I even go further to the southeast. I also have a very good cordial relationship with a struggle like the Massop struggle, not the IPOP struggle that later break out from the Massop to form an IPOP, where you have another man who come out from nowhere also created his own enclave and begin to give a different impression of what we thought the Biafran struggle was all about. To that extent, I knew we have done a lot. I have always been an advocate, and I've experienced few conferences we had in the past, but we have not gotten it right. You have that one the government has organized a few years ago, where the coming of Obasanjo government, there was a conference called Confab, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, the conference was not organized with good intention, and it went off like that. I remember vividly in 2004, 2005 also, side by side with the Confab. At the time Obasanjo was busy organizing Confab, the progressives also, some of us radical elements, were also busy organizing Pro-NACO conference, which I was the youth director under Enahoro leadership, and Woloshe Nkabeko and the likes of them. Then we run that for 2 years. We came up with a draft constitution that recommend parliamentary system of government, and when we went, some of us at that conference, we identified the fact that in 2008, at no time, the government of Abdulsalam Abubakar organized any conference called Constitutional Conference. How do we arrive at having the 1999 constitution that some of us feel strongly that that good document was only foisted on Nigerians? That document lacked legitimacy. Yes, you can call it a legal document. I'm not a lawyer, but even as a layman, I knew there's difference between a legal document and a document that has legitimacy. And the legitimacy of that document, it's where we have problem with it. That some of us are saying that that document was brought, foisted on Nigerian, and that document was nothing other than drawn from the Decree 24, and that is exactly what we are using, and that's what these people are using against the populace of this country. And that's why some of us are saying that, look, there's a need for us to re-engineer a process that will bring about a document that will stand the test of time, a document that will enjoy legitimacy of Nigerians. Constitutional making, let me jump before you even take me there to tell me National Assembly. Making of a constitution is not the responsibility of the National Assembly. Nowhere in the world where National Assembly has had the responsibility of making constitution for the people. The people will have to sit down. All the government needs to do is to provide an atmosphere, constitutional atmosphere, for people to sit down and decide what they want. We can start it from zonal level, zonal to local government to state. Then from state, we'll get to national, where the document we have today can be amended for temporary to give us an opportunity, because there's nowhere the constitution carried anything that has to do with referendum, so that at the end of the day, once it's amended by the National Assembly, then we can go to referendum at the national level. The best 11 will come from every zone, and then they go there and adopt the document and enjoy the legitimacy. Some of us go far to challenge the constitution in court, Federal High Court, in the last 15 years or more than. No, but that court, no court had agreed to sit to look in for what we're asking for our prayer. As to speak today, most of those who are plaintiff to that court case, some of them are not even alive. And now was a leading plaintiff. Wole Shenka was part of it. I was part of it. Azad Dokubo was part of it. Beko was part of it. Sisionu, former governor of Anambra State, was part of it. But that document never get to see the light of the day as I speak to till date. We will still ask, because now we are glad to see that one of our own today is the man in charge of the affairs of the country, Ashwaji Bola Tinubu. He was part of Pro-NACO, because Ashwaji was part of the financier. He gave us all the necessary support we needed for that conference to hold. And after the conference, at the end of the day, when the thing never get to see the light of day, anybody now dumped it and jump into another different issues. So he knows what I'm talking about. The president we have today is a progressive president. The president we have today is a product of struggle. The president we have today is a president who believes in true federalism, and that is why you see things are happening. Local government autonomy was part of true federalism, and we have come to see it. the issue of tax reform bill was part of it, of course. Normally, no government can stay without having all of this. So gradually, we are getting there. So I'm sure he knows what to do when the time comes. The Gulabalu issue that today becomes issue, it was a brilliant idea. It was a good document that was tendered before Nigeria, but very unfortunately, those who are supposed to make the presentation and bring it to the people, for people to make an input and also accept it, never do the needful. At the end of the day, suddenly some people somewhere, interest came into the fold, and they make it look as if it has to do with the North against the South or the South against the North. It requires serious consultations. Stakeholders must get to their people. The National Assembly, the representative at the National Assembly will have to take the documents back to their various constituency and sit down with their people in town hall meetings and make it clear and present it to them so that they can make an input. Then at the end of the day, it enjoys legitimacy to be brought back. Then the National Assembly will pass it. Then the president would assent to it, and that's all. It becomes law. Where we are today, I thank God there's a clear understanding between the executive arm of government and even the legislature, and they are working on that now. All they need to do, and I thank God they've said it in the National Assembly, that they will get down to their people, and I'm sure this will commence sometimes January to February. They will reach down to their people and consult properly, so that at the end of the day, where there are certain gray areas to be amended, it to be amended and it to be brought to the House for debate, and that at the end of the day it will scale through. Almost everything has been so politicized by the political actors. I can assure you that Nigerians do not have problems. But often, the political leaders, oftentimes when there are certain misgivings for their selfish interest, they try to see how they can instigate one part of the country against the other, or instigate one thing or the other. But you can be rest assured, we are not relenting. We will continue to reach out to people. Like I made mention of people, my folks that have been together with my friends and so on and so forth. We are reaching out also to ensure that all of these things, they don't forget vividly in the past, when there are tensions in Kanu or Kaduna, Lagos will be panicking, or if there's tension in Lagos or Port Harcourt or anywhere, or where you see tension across board. But today it's no longer a story, because we will talk to ourselves, we can communicate, and I can reach out to each and every ethnic leader of any particular place in Nigeria today confidently, and in confidence we can discuss this, and you will see that the issues have been resolved amicably, and it will become a thing of the past. You have people who lack political will to address the issues, and oftentimes when they comes, they get carried away and become overwhelmed. You made mention of Umaru. Umaru did well within just a length of just 2 years, and he performed some miracle that we can attest to it and point at. Subsequent government came off. Jonathan, we had issues where the government had been hijacked. He wasn't so decisive, and it went. And Buhari case came, and Buhari was even almost getting to be the worst. That's where I come from. Buhari is my brother, but in fairness, Buhari case becomes very terrible that at the end of the day, he has no program in the government, and at the end of this, so many things went out of place. The only thing the government can be remembered for was nothing other than nepotism and so on and so forth. That today, I can tell you in confidence that the Buhari administration only enriches some few individuals, and today I am one of those who feel the pains that those individuals are not brought to book. We knew them before Buhari came to power. Some of them do not have anything doing, but today they are trillionaires. Not only brilliant, but they own trillions. So, but I look forward. I will not jump into conclusion to say that nothing will happen, but I encourage Tinubu to summon courage and bring them to account for. Sure, nobody is above law. Anybody who is found wanting should be brought to book. That's the only way we can get it right. The government of Buhari must be brought to probe. I mean no word. Because what they did was terrible. The level of trouble we are faced with today, I can tell you without missing a word, that these things, this present government inherited a lot of trouble. And that's why the journey has been so rough. If you have a leader that is very sincere, determined, and you have a system that works under this system, under this so-called presidential system of government that allows for people to exercise impunity without anybody checkmating their excesses, and they can do and get away with it without anybody bringing them to face the music, where laws are perceived to be seen as if laws are only to work against the common man, and those who are in powers are covered by so-called immunity, you can never get it right. Until we change the system, until people are determined to do it right, until we amend this constitution or engineer a new document that we can all accept that this is what we want. I have my reservation about the present constitution. It's not the people's constitution. The preamble speaks lies against itself. We the people, at no point in 2008, 2009, before Abdulsalam handed over, we had any constitutional conference. Where did we get the constitution from? And who tells you that the business of making a constitution is the business of only few individuals to sit down and just draft document and force it on people? Was there any negotiation to produce the document? At no time. And that's why I say the document lacked legitimacy. And I stand to be corrected by anybody who thinks otherwise of what I'm thinking. It is the right of the citizen to do that and say it. It is the right of the citizen to initiate the processes and tell the power that be that this is how we want it, and for the power that be also to listen and now create an atmosphere, conducive environment for people to sit down and discuss, deliberate, agree to disagree, and come up with something they believe it is their own. I look at the struggle, what we went through, go through detentions and so on and so forth, through all of these dark days and so on and so forth, having make all this sacrifice today. Today Nigeria is still where it is, and some of us begin to say, what did we make sacrifice for? We deprive ourselves of a lot of comfort to advocate for a better Nigerian. But today, look at how the country is getting worse by the day. And sometimes I get worried and I sleep at night and I wake up, my heart keep beating fast, and I begin to say, am I dreaming? Is it what we fought for? Does it mean all the sacrifice we have made in the past will just go in vain? This is not the kind of country I want to see. What you do is to bring those who felt they are being marginalized, bring them to the table, let them vent their anger, let them say where their problem is. But where in the name of agitations anybody take arm against it is where I don't think it is genuine. This issue of Biafra, for over time it has been discussed. There are agitations and there are those who are genuinely agitating. But today you have a chunk set of criminal-minded people who, under guise of Biafra struggle, they are busy taking arm against it. They are busy also killing innocent Nigerians in the name of agitations. This is counterproductive. It's unacceptable, and no responsible government will fold his hand and allow that to continue. You see, the issue of the security challenge we are faced with today, we must commend the present government. They are doing very well, and they are trying, because I come from an area where it's as if we're in Warsaw, Northwest. We are faced with issue of terrorism, we are faced with issue of banditry, and so on and so forth. But to God be the glory, recently we are beginning to breathe fresh air, because in the past you cannot even move between Kaduna and Abuja. It becomes hell. You cannot move from Kaduna to Katsina. It's not easy. From Katsina to Zamfara is also not easy. But today, under this administration, we are beginning to feel that the service chiefs are trying their best, because there's synergy, unlike what we have in the last administration of Buhari, where the chief of army staff, within the army staff, chief of army staff and the chief of air staff, there's no synergy. Where the DGSSS and even the DSS and EFCC, there's no synergy. So many things. And the government lacked the will to bring them to the fore and put them together so that there will be synergy, so that we can have a impactful, positive results. That government failed. But under Tinubu, we could see the synergy, and you could also see what the Minister for Defense is also doing, Matawale, who come from my own zone. He has been doing very well, boosting the morale of the men on ground, and a lot of things are happening. So I commend them. I won't condemn them. Even in the Northeast today, the issue of Boko Haram is not as pronounced as it was in the last administration. So we commend this government and we urge them to do more. It will be in his own interest to do that. Being a progressive, being a true Democrat, because Tinubu is a Democrat. He has no military background, and I am sure he thinks almost the same way we think. I believe he will do it. It's just a matter of time, because don't forget, he comes in the mix of so many trouble. The economic of the country is nothing to write home about. The security is nothing to write home about. Until you have a stable place, stable system, now you begin to think of what to do to add up as value to a country. So I have no doubt in my mind, while in the turbulent period, maybe sooner he will begin to have that mindset and thinking. But I'm sure Tinubu will hardly go without having a roundtable discussions with Nigerians and for us to marshal out something positive so that we can get to El Dorado. I have no doubt in my mind. I'm a member of Patriot. I was part of that. Yes, I was there with Meka and Yako. We sat with him. I wasn't told I was there in the villa when he addressed us. Well, policy is a thing that you keep doing. When you try, it doesn't work, you change, you do until you get it right. Nobody is perfect. Rome is not built in a day. Don't forget, we come out of a trouble for the last 8 years, and you don't expect somebody. It's not it's not that easy. You assume in less than 2 years you just do the miracle and get it right. It is easy to destroy than build. So we need to be patient. I am not an advocate of Tinubu, and I am not a spokesman or APC card carry member, but I feel we should be fair to him. Let's give him little time. When it doesn't work, like I said today, we see he's not doing it right, I'm likely going to be a champion of those who will stand against him for re-election. I've said it over time, because oftentimes when an issue becomes so bad, you now begin to see that we look only to the center, and that's why we need to decentralize this central government, because often the governors hide under the guise of the system and put the blames on the center. Nobody is asking them what are they doing with the fact they are collecting all this money, the loans they are collecting everywhere, here and there. Nobody is even talking about it. But today, as I speak with you, we are getting there because they are gradually being exposed. Because only recently we get to hear from the federal government the amount of money that has been allocated to various state governors. What do they use it for? Nothing. So sometimes some of this responsibility is not even the center problem. It is the governors. So we'll get there.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for staying till the end of this news. What's your take on this? Please, let's hear from you. Kindly drop your comments below the comment section, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share this video, let it go viral. Thank you, and bye for now.